It is 6:49. This is your morning in 8 minutes.
Well, today is set to be the hottest day in 10 years. We do want to get to Chief Meteorologist Heather Haley with why today is a first alert weather day.
One thing I'd like to point out too is why we need to take heat seriously, because when it comes down to it, heat is the #1 weather related killer. Yes, we get lots of days in the 90s. Yes, it's summer in the southeast, but I think it's easy to underestimate heat. So that's why we try to highlight and pinpoint those days where the heat is excessive, like today. So some things you can do to kind of keep in mind that we are aimed at 100. Record heat, yes, hotter than it has been, absolutely. You want to try to avoid the direct sunshine. That always makes us feel hotter. Even on the mild days that are sunny, sunshine makes us hotter. So staying in the shade is important. If you work outside, seek shelter basically in the shade, but also keep in mind, what are you surrounded by? Are you working on a roof? Are you working in the middle of a street? The pavement just radiates that heat back up on us and makes it feel hotter. So these are some things you can keep in mind. The shade, the grass, of course, indoors, the safest place today as that first alert weather day is targeted at 100 degrees as we really are going to potentially be the hottest day in 10 years. The current record for this date is 99, set in 1988. So I've got that forecast for the rest of your day coming up here in just a moment.
Heather, thanks. And Knoxville first responders want to remind you to find ways to stay cool and avoid an emergency.
There are a number of places offering air conditioning and shelter from the sun, like city recreation centers, senior centers, and county libraries. You can stay cool in the water as well. The city's 2 public outdoor pools are open from 11 a.m. to 5. Admission to Ed Cothran and Inskip Pool just under $5. You can also splash around on the splash pads throughout the city. Head to Market Square, Crouch Park, and World's Fair Park for a little fun, and of course that water to cool you down. City officials say homeless people encouraged to seek shelter at the city's Day Safe space at Broadway and Magnolia. It offers full shade, water, as well as access to outdoor furniture, restrooms, and showers. Right now, a McMinn County woman already facing sexual exploitation charges is indicted on even more.
Deputies say there are now twice as many victims from McMinn Central High School. Melissa Blair is accused of having sexual encounters with male students. Police arrested her in February. Now 9 more victims are added, totaling 18 underage students. A grand jury is now indicting Blair on those 20 charges. Blair is in custody and faces $1 million bond. And this morning, a Lenoir City house is boarded up after police are calling it a house of crime.
Investigators say they've responded to the home on West 2nd Avenue more than 30 times since 2011 alone. It belongs to Bruce Jenkins after his family bought it at auction following a meth bust in 2011. Police responded to calls like stabbing, shootings, overdoses, even a death. Police kicked Jenkins out on Tuesday. We asked him if he had felt he'd done anything wrong. He said no, saying it was the people staying with him who were the ones causing trouble. No arrests were made, but judge will determine what comes next for the house.
East Tennessee Valley Crime Stopper says thanks to a lot of tips from you, they identified the man you see in this photo. He's accused of stealing $2,500 worth of copper wire from a construction site in North Knoxville in April. And a former Sullivan County deputy is indicted, accused of theft after an investigation by the TBI. Officials say Cody Cooknar faked his timesheets, saying he worked hours he did not between April of 2021 and March of 2022. He does not work for the sheriff's office anymore. He's indicted on 1 count of theft over $1,000, and he turned himself in. And continuing coverage this morning, the head of the Texas Department of Public Safety says officers had enough manpower and firepower to stop the gunman that killed 19 children and 2 teachers in Uvalde, Texas.
The city's mayor says the school will be demolished following the investigation. Police waited over an hour in the hallways of the school before breaching the classroom. At a state Senate hearing yesterday, Colonel Steve McCraw called the police response to the massacre a, quote, abject failure. He says officers had the manpower, equipment, and time to, quote, neutralize the suspect. McCraw placed blame on the Uvalde school police chief. Meanwhile, the Senate is advancing a gun bill to the debate floor and possibly a final vote sometime soon. The measure includes millions of dollars for mental health, school safety, and crisis intervention programs. It also lays out incentives for states to include juvenile records in the National Criminal Background Check System. Senators are looking to pass the bill before the July 4th recess.
Investors will be monitoring congressional testimony today and tomorrow from Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell for clues about the Fed's approach to the soaring prices and outlook outlook for interest rate hikes. Stocks regained some lost ground yesterday after last week's steep drop steered by inflation and a fear of a recession. Flight cancellations and delays, those are expected to continue. Airlines still facing those staffing shortages. The biggest problem is many airlines no longer have reserve flight attendants and pilots. American Airlines even cutting routes to smaller airports like Toledo and Ithaca, New York. Here in Knoxville, everything is running on time this morning at McGee Tyson Airport. Well, 3 people are recovering after an airplane catches fire trying to land. Take a look at this. Scary stuff. It happened at the Miami International Airport. The plane coming from the Dominican, 120 people were on board when the landing gear collapsed after landing. The plane belongs to Red Air, a low-cost carrier based out of the Dominican Republic. The National Transportation Safety Board says a team will be on hand today to figure out what happened.
Over 900 people are dead this morning after an earthquake in Afghanistan. Over 600 people are hurt right now, with the death toll expected to rise. The U.S. Geological Survey says the 5.9 magnitude earthquake hit the southwest area of the country in the early hours of the morning. And parts of Yellowstone National Park will welcome back visitors today for the first time since record-breaking flooding closed the park last week. Many homes, roads, and bridges were destroyed. The National Park Service says it will use $50 million in emergency funds for the recovery. Officials estimate it could take months, even years, to fully restore some areas.
It is 6:55 this morning. We do want to get a look at your first alert traffic with Whitney.
Another day to carpool if you can. Just reduce those trips on the road. But if you do have to get out today, if you're traveling through Campbell County, you'll notice this traffic shift on I-75 northbound. This is between the Caravel and Oneida exits in Campbell County. They do have the far right lane closed 24/7 through mid-July. This is as crews install some storm drainage in the area. Right now, that volume is pretty light on this Wednesday morning. We're not seeing any delays in and around downtown Knoxville. This is a live look at that traffic flow for you. You can see all of those interstates are on time.
Almost 6:56 now. Again, the first alert weather day is focused on the afternoon, so all the more reason that the earlier the better for outdoor yard work, play, whatever it may be. By noon, we're going to be back into the upper 80s. 68 now, 89 at noon, 100 is what we're aimed at for this afternoon. Again, the record's 99 set in 1988. 100 degrees this afternoon, triple digits here. Light breeze, a lot of sun, so another beautiful day. It's just that afternoon peak heating is our concern ahead. As Whitney mentioned, limiting driving can help because between the heat and just exhaust from lots of vehicles, it can cook up some poor air quality. We have another code orange air quality alert in effect today. Sensitive groups, children, older folks, anyone with heart or lung disease. You may want to limit time outside. Right now it's very mild, back up 68 Knoxville, 62 Cosby, 66 in Oak Ridge, and 60 in Maynardville. Big picture, you can see we're nice and quiet here at home, but that's where the heat is building and brewing to max out at 100. We do have that heat wave continuing with 90s, but limited rain. I'll be tracking that for you coming up on the CW.
Yeah, check on pets, check on neighbors.
Amen.
Just take this seriously and try to stay safe. Thanks for watching. We're heading over to WDXX.